Round of the Oregon Department of Energy Grid Resilience Grant Program. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm Clay Deckard, and I'm an incentives analyst at the Oregon Department of Energy. I'm here with Lauren Rosenstein and some other teammates from the Department of Energy who are here to help me answer questions or join the discussion. We've opened up this first round of funding on March 15th this year, making almost $19 million available of federal funding for Oregon's electric utilities to execute some grid resilience projects. If you are with an electric utility, hopefully you've had time to review the information and documents and have started an application. If you are a utility customer interested in following this program, we're glad you're here and encourage you to engage with your utility directly to become part of the process. The main purpose of today is quickly to get to your questions, help moderate any discussions. That's going to be Lauren's role, and she's also our expert on Justice 40 and is here specifically to address questions around Justice 40 and community benefits and things like that. I'm going to run through a short summary of the program and dive into some application updates and some website updates, and then we'll get right to your questions. So thank you very much for being here. Do a little housekeeping with our WebEx. In some of the guides, the attendees are off camera and muted at the moment. Our host, Patricia, will be able to unmute you for questions. On the right-hand side of your screen in the participants panel, you can click near your name to raise your hand. There's also a hand icon at the bottom of the WebEx window in the reactions bar. Click that hand to indicate that you would like to ask a question. And feel free to use the chat function at any time to ask questions. And Lauren will keep an eye out for hands raised and be monitoring the chat function too to line up the questions when we get to that part. And please, when you send in a chat, make sure you send it to everybody or to the panelists so that we can all take a look and the appropriate person can respond. If you're joined from a phone, press *3 or *3 to raise your hand, and then *6 will mute and unmute you. I think we also have to unmute you on our end too, but we'll get that figured out when the time comes. But *3 is to raise your hand. And then a reminder that we are recording today's webinar, and we will post the recording and the slide presentation to our website sometime after the presentation. I've already covered raising your hand and the chat window. So please also take a moment to, if your full name isn't please introduce yourself, give us your full name and your affiliation, your organization inside the chat. That way we get a better idea of who all is attending. Thank you for that. All right, now we'll just dive right in. This is a federally funded program from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and it will include 5 years of funding following the federal fiscal year calendar. This $18.9 million is the first 2 years of funding from fiscal years 22 and 23, and we expect about $50 million from the federal government over the life of the program. And then the total funding will be much higher based upon the matching funds that the state has to provide and that each awardee has to provide. And we'll get into those details as well. Or they're actually on the screen. The small utilities have to match 1/3 of their grant amount, and the large utilities have to match 100% of their grant amount. But so this first round application is coming up on June 14th. And so if that won't work for you, rest assured there'll be plenty more opportunities and more money available for these projects. So please, thank you for attending, first of all, and please continue to plan your project and your application and getting ready. Never too early to get ready for a future round. We've set aside over $7.5 million for projects from small utilities, defined as those selling 4 million or less megawatt hours annually. And then I already covered the match. So we'll keep going on. And that amount of money that represents for the small utilities, the $7.5 million that's on the screen, it's 40% of the overall funding, even though small utilities make up only 25% of Oregon, or serving 25% of Oregon's electric utility customers. And that 40% was to recognize the higher expenses and the more difficulty that some smaller utilities will have in developing and putting out projects, just because of the land area mostly that's covered by our small and rural utilities. Okay, here's our schedule. The required application documents have been posted on our website since March 15th. So hopefully you've had time to get started and are here today with questions about those documents or other aspects of the process. Our application submittal portal is still being developed, but it is not needed to start your application or to do any of the application documents. The portal will simply be a place to upload and submit a completed application, and all of the documents that go along with that. We'll also have a place for you to make some certifications or attestations about the federal requirements and things like that. And then there'll be a digital signature and a final submission. And so that portal will be open soon, but it definitely should be up by the beginning of June, we're hoping, so that at least you have 2 weeks to submit applications before the deadline. But again, nothing about the portal should stop you from completing and working on your applications right now with all the other documents that are posted on the website. After the deadline on June 14th, we'll start the application review and selection process. And we plan to notify selected utilities in early October. And the gap there between June and October is because we also have to include a cushion of time for the Department of Energy to approve the applications we've selected. And that's a new process that they're still sorting out, and they don't even have their set timeline for how long it takes them to review the submissions that we're going to send to them. And so that's why there's quite a bit of cushion in there before announcements will come out. Starting this Friday, so here's some support and application updates. Starting this Friday and every Friday through June 7th, we'll be online for an hour of open office hours, if you will, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that's a place that anybody can drop in at any time. We'll be live on Teams to answer questions. Lauren will also attend those so that she can address specific questions around project community benefits or community engagement, Justice 40, or any of those aspects of the program. She'll be there to help with those questions. And then I just want to highlight quickly 2 changes to the application documents that have come up already from the Department of Energy. They have eliminated the need for the SF 424A. That was like a budget information form. They eliminated that completely, and that's why you'll see that that's no longer on the website. And then they made an update to the budget justification workbook. They've added one more tab to that. And so please make sure that you've downloaded the latest version off the website and are using that for your application. And we'll cover some of that as we go through the website. All right, which I'll run through now real quickly. So here's the home page for the Oregon Department of Energy. And the first column on the left there lists our incentives and efficiency programs. And here you'll find a link to get directly to the Grid Resilience Grant Program page right down there on the home page. One other website navigation tip is the blue banner at the top stays with every page as you move around the website. So if something else catches your eye and you get off the home page, but you're not on the Grid Resilience page, you should always see these menu choices at the top, including the incentives menu. That produces a pull-down menu like this, and you'll see where you can find the Grid Resilience Grant Program link there. So just a couple of quick little places where you can get to our program. And here's what our program page looks like. On the left are all sorts of incentive programs, just like in that pull-down menu I showed previously. In the center are the program schedule and other basic information, including the announcement for the Friday office hours, and including a link to join that. That link will work at any time, but nobody will be there until Fridays at 10, between 10 and 11. So that's where you get to that. And then it also has instructions if you need to call in from a phone. On the right column of our webpage are all of the specific documents needed for this round of the program. And I'm going to go to another slide that zooms in on that. So here are the application resources. Up at the top is the opportunity announcement. That's an important document because you should have that open as you're working on your application, because it has the selection criteria. If we get enough applications and requests for more money than we have available in this round, we will have a competitive review or a competitive selection process. And so you should be familiar and make sure that your application in the project's details form covers the items that are listed in the selection criteria. Then the second document listed there is the instructions for the application documents. So that just is exactly what it says. And below that are all of the application documents: the project details form, the cost match letter, and there's 2 templates there. You only need to use the proper one for your size utility. And then there's the budget justification workbook, which I just mentioned was updated recently on May 7th. And so you want to make sure that you're using the new version of that. And then also listed there is the environmental questionnaire. One document that's listed in the instructions that doesn't have a template is if you're a utility that is participating in a GRIP project or a GRIP application, we'll want to get some details about that GRIP project so that the Department of Energy can deconflict and make sure that it doesn't violate the rules, that you are applying for the same type of project in the same round, or that you're, even if they're different applications, that the project scopes don't overlap. And so that's discussed in both in the opportunity announcement and in the project details form. And really that's it. So we can get right to your questions. And we will take a look. I'll hand it over to Lauren actually to see if she's got anything lined up or if anybody has their hand raised at this time.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lauren Rosenstein. I'm the Community Equity and Inclusion Analyst at Odo, and I'm here to facilitate your conversation today. So if you've got any questions or thoughts, comments, whatever you want to share, this is our open forum for you today. So you're welcome to either raise your hand and Patricia will help to get you off of mute, or you're welcome to put thoughts or questions into the chat. Right now, there are none. So maybe while we're waiting for folks to get their ideas together, Clay, you said that there was a large chunk of time in between applications due and announcements. So I'm wondering, in between, during that time, will there be communication that goes out with applicants? Oh, you're on mute.
Thanks. Yeah, for every stage of the as we move applications through, we'll notify you of the status of your application. Like the first thing is just eligibility and completeness. We find your project, your application is fully complete and ready to move to the next stage, we'll just let you know that, right? And then we'll take it to that. Then we have to go through a selection process, and once you've been notified that you have an eligible complete application, that will probably be the longest gap when you won't hear from us as we go through the full selection process and then communicate with the U.S. Department of Energy on having them review the applications as well. If we have specific questions about the details of your application, we'll just reach out to you directly through the contact in your application to iron out where maybe we're asking for some supplemental information or some clarification about something you put in your document. If your application is found ineligible, we'll let you know that right away too. We won't make you wait for the announcements of the selections. As soon as we make a determination about an application, we will let you know.
Thank you. There's still no thoughts or questions coming in for us. So I'm curious if there are folks here who are working on their applications, if you've come to a place where maybe there's something that's sticky for you, or you'd like some help with problem solving anything, or does everybody feel like it's smooth sailing and you're ready to go? Smooth sailing would be pretty amazing. It's pretty quiet in here today.
Well, we'll take that as a good sign, right? Everything's
I hope
clear.
so.
Nobody's having any problems. Yeah, I don't mind some awkward silence. We can wait and see if anybody wants to hang in there or wants to come in with a question.
I'll preemptively, I can talk a little bit about, oh, I'm going to stop myself because Sandra has our first question. Sandra says, we have more than one department interested in the funding. Can we submit 2 applications?
In the first round, I'd have to go quickly run to the rules, but I'm pretty sure we put in there that only each organization in each round can only submit 1 application. But certainly that will be open again in later rounds. And if that isn't specifically in the rule, which I can't quite remember off the top of my head, then we would probably impose that anyway, just to see what applications we get. Again, if there were few applications and money on the table, we might consider 2 applications from one organization. But again, we might also want to hold that funding for future rounds. So I don't want to commit to either of those paths right here and now.
Okay. And Sandra, maybe we can also, we'll check the rules, and you could always come back to the office hours if you have more questions. Sarah has heard a question from potential applicants. How long is the opportunity period to spend the money if awarded?
Sure. So right now in this first round, until we get an amendment or a change to our grant from the U.S. Department of Energy, the end of the period is going to be in June, or a little earlier, actually, I think in March of 2028, right, to allow then because our period or our grant with the Department of Energy ends in June of 2028. And so we have to have everything wrapped up by then. Now, as funding gets issued, it's our understanding that the grants will get amended, or our agreement will get amended, kicking out the performance periods, right? Whether or not all of that is retroactive to the first round applications, not 100% sure. We'll have to have that discussion with the U.S. Department of Energy. But the short answer for right now will be springtime of 2028, with the possibility for no cost extensions for things like supply line problems, or any other sort of no fault delays. There is going to be, in our performance agreements or our contracts, there is going to be provisions around submitting requests for extensions.
Thanks, Clay. while people are digesting that information and thinking about their next questions, I have a question for everyone here. I'm wondering if folks are working on their applications, could you let us know in the chat by just putting in yes, we're working on our application, or yes, or not yet, or next round. Give us a little bit of information as to where you are in the process.
Right, and I did get confirmation, thank you, James, that we did put in there that only one application per utility may be submitted in this round or in this opportunity. And so we'll stick to that because that's what we put in black and white on this round.
It looks like most folks here have work in progress. Applications are started. They're being worked on currently. They're being submitted this year. It's very exciting.
And feedback, we'd love to, whether it's in here or whether it's just an email to the grid.grants at oregon.energy.gov email address, and I'll have that slide up at the end when I put slides back up. We'd love to get your feedback on, even if you're not able to participate or you're waiting for a future round, just any feedback on what you see are challenges to the process, things like that. We'd love to have that in our feedback and our lessons learned so we can make adjustments as allowed by the Department of Energy to the program in future rounds. Another thing we're going to be developing is some sort of a technical assistant program and what the utilities would like that to look like, especially those utilities that have resource challenges. We'd love to hear what vision you would have for technical assistance that would help you in a future round with completing project planning and being able to submit an application.
Kyle has a question for us. When we upload maps to go with the application, is there a certain style or program we should be using?
No, not at all. Whatever, if you're turning that map into just an image, a JPEG or a PDF, that's fine. I am working on making sure that we can accept multiple files, multiple documents when it comes to the maps or diagrams. What we're just looking for is to make it clear where the project area is. And if a map isn't applicable to your project, that's fine too. If it's not a big construction project where you have to outline exactly where it is, or if it's a system-wide map and you're just circling, hey, it's this feeder or these customers, that type of thing is what we're looking for. Just whatever fits your project and giving us a clear description of the location and its connection to your system. Definitely not something high end that we have to have special software to view. Let me put that out there.
Kyle says thank you. Just a little pause in questions here. So I might also kind of double down on what Clay was mentioning before, that of course you're welcome to email with any sorts of thoughts about challenges in this process, but we're also happy to hear those at this point too, if you'd like to share any of those. Or if there's a particular point that you are in at the moment in your application process, you can share about that as well. Still pretty quiet out here. Similar to Sarah, I've heard a question that's come up a few times that I can talk about right here. People have asked if the, will all applications be considered, even if they do not meet a Justice 40 census map tract, and all of the applications that come in will be considered. Priorities will go to the applications, the program projects that have that are focused on disadvantaged and directly support disadvantaged communities through the Justice 40 Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool. And I think the thing that I hear Clay say often and is important to get out there is that we're really looking forward to programs that support community benefits and resilience to build a holistic approach. So as you're working on your application, if you have questions that come up around Justice 40 or the CJIST map, which is the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool, or your community engagement, community benefits, please do ask those questions too.
Great, thanks, Lauren.
Well, Ellen's asking, will application reviewers be from entities outside of Odo?
It will be a mix. We're working right now on recruiting some industry experts for helping us with the technical feasibility and the financial feasibility of what we anticipate some, pretty complex projects in the applications. So yes, it won't be just Odo staff. We are reaching out to the national labs. We're reaching out to the Oregon Public Utilities Commission and others. And so as we continue that recruiting, hopefully we'll have a good team for these reviews.
Well, Clay, folks are pretty quiet today. Everyone must be at a place in their application where it's the chill part.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good place to wrap it up then. Want to thank everybody for attending and thank all the Odo staff too for your help. And remind everybody that the very first set of office hours is just a couple of days away on this Friday from 10 to 11. So if you didn't have enough today, come back on Friday or the following 3 Fridays until our deadline. A reminder, the deadline is Friday, the 14th of June at 1 p.m. We're going to shut down the application and always go to our website for any updates or any information, or now up on the screen, you see my email, the program's email on my direct work phone number. That's a cell number also, so if you want to text, that's fine as well. Again, thank you all very much for attending, and thank you for participating in the program, and I look forward to reviewing your applications. Good afternoon, and we'll end it there.